Okay, let's talk about the cold shoulder. We've all received a cold shoulder from someone. It can seem so controlling and passive aggressive and a power move and infuriating, particularly when dealing with your boss, your husband, your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, maybe one of your kids. Someone gives you the cold shoulder. And there are a couple of things to keep in mind that can really help you not only not make it worse, but really move through this. And this is important because this happens to a lot of us almost every day. Step one, try not to take it personally. This is hard, okay? It can be very triggering for us, but try not to take it personally. It is less about you and much more about the person's resources. Try to understand and not judge that this person has encountered a problem they can't solve. They're stuck. Their fuel gauge is on E. It's empty. This was the best they can do, and the best they can do to try to protect themselves is to give you this cold shoulder, whether it's based on a misunderstanding or an insecurity. So if you cannot take it too personally and not judge them for it, and in fact see it as an expression of their impoverishment, they lack the skills, the emotional maturity, they lack, and this is how they show it to you. If you can do that, that framing can really take a load off the situation and avoid getting triggered into a power struggle mode. Number two, tell yourself immediately, it is not your responsibility to now fix this. It's not your responsibility to magically find the resources that they lack. Sure, it's convenient. Sure, the relationship in this moment now has a flat tire. And a car without all four functioning tires is not going to get very far. The relationship has come to a halt. It's extremely impractical at this point when either party pulls back and gives a cold shoulder. Okay, it's not practical. But if we tell ourselves, oh great, now it's my responsibility. I've got to take the higher road. I've got to be the adult. No, you don't. And when we give ourselves permission to not have to, it's amazing how often it can simplify things and we can find the resources, or at least, and if you can find the resources, if you can do that, it's an amazing gift you give yourself and the other person. You can give it to the relationship. And isn't it great that you have it? Or, in some situations, you don't have it. So don't get caught up in that. But if you can do it, it's amazing, okay? Also, this can feel like a power move. So you don't really want to respond. This whole thing about you started. You gave me the cold shoulder, now I'm going to give it to you. That's fair. Okay, it's fair in a very playground, very, I think, infantile way. It's fair. You started it. But is that the kind of relationship you want to have with your wife, your boss, your son? Is that the kind of relationship you want? Okay, so if you can avoid these things and not get triggered. Then, next, what do? Well, what I try to do is I try to then extend, not too aggressively. You check in with the person, or you offer, hey, can I make you tea? Or they're going out the door, your boss is leaving for the day. Have a great night, see you in the morning. You extend some kind of olive branch and let them know, hey, just in case you think that I've replied in the same kind, that I'm now hunkered into a negative place. Actually, I'm in a positive place. I'm receptive. To you being positive. I'm receptive to working through this together. So some olive branch, but it can't have this pressure. It can't be, I've taken the high road, I'm going to be positive. Now you have to join me, and you have to do it now. You have to be patient. You need to be patient. Now, again, if you can't do it, you can't do it. If you don't have the resources to pull it off, that's fine, but I encourage you to not get caught up in this very familiar trap, which is you end up, you don't have what it takes, you got a bit of a cold shoulder going on, and you end up blaming the other person for the very thing you're doing. You're now both in cold shoulder land. You don't have the resources, okay? And it's a bummer, but don't get caught up in blame, especially if you also lack the fuel, right? So ultimately now, you're in a situation where I think you've done everything you can do. You can't push someone to come back, or they never learn. People need to learn to take the steps back to the relationship, all right? So if you've been very clear about being open, being positive, being receptive, I think now comes acceptance. You need to accept what they're going to do and give them room. Sometimes people need a lot of room. What you ideally want to work towards, of course, is them coming back into the relationship and the two of you discussing, not necessarily resolving, maybe not fixing or resolving, don't get ahead of yourself, but just untangling, open things up a bit together is great, as opposed to the all too common alternative is where people wait 10 minutes, they wait a day, they wait 3 days, time moves on, and slowly they kind of, two people not coming back together face to face, but almost back to back, so that there's no resolution, there's no discussing, there's no exploring, and now you've got something where you just didn't even get a chance to talk about it, but the relationship somehow moved on. If you have enough of those, they are ticking time bombs. They will catch up with you. I don't think you need to work through, discuss, swap notes around every conflict, every power struggle moment, every kind of moment of upset, okay? But if it's a recurring one, if it's something significant, sooner or later, if you want a truly intimate, strong, long-lasting relationship with the boss, with your son, you're going to have to work through it. You're going to have to open it up. Not just let the fact that you live together or you work together once again push you back together with no sense of having gone back to that touched base and reaffirmed the choices you're making together. All right? Keep all that in mind next time someone gives you the cold shoulder. It's very common. And yeah, understand it's an expression of impoverishment. And try not to take it too personally.